to create Sheshreds, a cultural and retail experience for female athletes by female athletes. Tony is a serial entrepreneur with over 15 years experience building national brands, including the likes of Red Bull, Virgin American Airlines. His expertise spans B2C, B2B, and corporate platforms with specialties in concept development and creative branding, media relations, social media web marketing, event tour planning, and consumer targeted promotions, just to name a few. In addition to building Sheshreds as a signature brand, Tony also runs LMP Limited, which stands for Lightning Man Productions, which is an agency-friendly, full-service, experiential marketing company. So, to say the least, these two are qualified. Okay, years experience, and I'm fascinated by the type of experience as well. So, really looking forward to hearing their story and what they have to say. So, and showing me what we got.
So I got to live up to that now. I gotta write my website.
Yeah, up to your website.
So Gina's going to do most of the talking today because we're really here to kind of do a little deeper exploratory on Sheshreds.co. That was kind of her baby in concept. I don't recommend I know there's people of varied ages. It's not something I would necessarily wholly endorse to like go into business with your spouse or your boyfriend. It's probably maybe not the best business model, but it works for us, and we've been getting away with it for a long time. How many people here, just by a show of hands, people have startups active, incubating the next big idea? Sweet. So you know who this person is, right? That's you. And it never stops if that's like the course you choose to take. At the end of the day, I've been told no so many times that I just ignore it completely. And I try to spend most of my time saying yes. It's like even just being asked to come and do this, it's like, yes, of course I'll come and do this. It provides opportunity. I'm likely to learn something from one or all or some of you before I walk out the door today. So keep that mindset as you move through space. Because the rewards when you do hear someone say yes is like indescribable, and like that's what she and I are both addicted to, is that dynamic in the context of like starting your own businesses and moving through space. So that kind of sets us up. You have a quicker thing? So we'll go to slide 2. Who knows who this guy is? Show of hands. Does anybody know? I knew you'd know who he was. So anyway, Henry Rollins, like one of my old like heroes, punk rock dude, net worth of about 20 million bucks right now. He's gone on from being, fronting Black Flag to spoken word to being a political activist to owning production companies, music labels, being on television, producing his own television shows. I could only aspire to be like as engaging as this guy is. Well, people will come and pay money to hear him tell jokes or spew his point of view. So the point around this slide and this guy is like, it's really important to find mentors, to find those things that like really inspire you to like move. If someone like plugged in a Henry Rollins thing right now, I'd start stomping around and kicking stuff. And it's important to have those mentors, those role models, those collaborators, those people that like light your fire and make you move through space. And we're going to talk more about that a little bit deeper into this. And his quote here resonated for me today because this has kind of been how I moved through space. I managed to almost like kill myself with narcotics in the 80s, so this has been it. There's no time, it's just all go. I go constantly. When I see the people around me kind of falling down, Tony, I can't go anymore, I kick and I say, let's go, because it becomes worth it. I do it to Gina all the time and she, but then we go and great things happen. So that kind of takes us to the next slide. I want to talk about no some more. Failing. I have failed miserably and ridiculously so many times, but it doesn't phase. You need to, if you use those things that you did that didn't work as learning propositions, you try not to make the same mistake again, because usually if you make the same mistake again, it's way worse. But these are just a few examples of things I failed at. No wake projects. Anybody wakeboard? Towable water sports, wakeboard, wake surf, action sports stuff. Cable parks, big phenomenon right now. Back in the Midwest, ramped one up with some buddies around a watercraft dealership we were working with. Bad due diligence, imploded on itself. National Nightlife Network, I tried to bring together several years ago a whole bunch of multiple property owners in a bunch of different cities to kind of use that leverage to be able to draw in sponsorship dollars and marketing dollars that were out there where brands and businesses were trying to market in that space and that lifestyle, that warm, heartfelt thing. And people don't like to play nice in the sandbox. Wrong model, didn't work. Buzzbox Entertainment, kind of a passive consumer entertainment property. Great idea, lots of neat properties underneath it. And once we got kind of to test and dumped a bunch of money into it, no one liked the product, so kind of went away. Cart marketing started as a conflict shop, so that the rich guys that I was kind of servicing as a agency could like get business and compete with brands they were already doing business with at the other agencies. Bad leadership, myself included. I screwed up and so did a lot of other people. So the likelihood is you'll fail. It's going to happen. Next slide. But there is light, because sometimes you hit that thing that works, and sometimes things work in perpetuity for you, and you continue to kind of remodel it and reform it as you go through space, and you realize what the marketplace needs and wants. So Lightning Man Promotions, I founded this company when I got out of the service in like 1990-ish, kind of formalized it in 1993, so I give it that incorporation date. So I started after I got out of the service. I didn't want to do anything but hang out at rock shows and go to clubs and like be cool and be around art and music and do weird stuff. So I got really good at it as a promoter, and I got good enough at it where I had people flying me around the country to throw parties. So I got to do my party in Chicago on Wednesday, and my party in Miami on Friday, my party in New York on Saturday, and moved through space really, really quickly. What happened to me after about 4 or 5 years of that was that agencies and like general marketing advertisers started to find value in, hey, look at all this captive audience out in these nightclubs and bars and music venues and festivals all over the place. Let's formalize marketing. I became highly recruitable. So I went inside with these 5 guys that I'd already turned down twice that were sitting in this nasty little office in Chicago smoking cigarettes with a stained rug, and it was horrible. Sat in with them for about 5 years, and that's where Gina and I actually met, is at that shop. And we built that agency from literally 5 dudes smoking cigarettes in a nasty little loft to 1,000 people, 53 field offices, and almost $90 million in revenue a year. So it's again that tenacity and that kind of like that push. To this day, I still work from this platform, and Gina and I have won 7-figure pieces of business from our dining room table from this platform, servicing different types of clients, automotive, beverage category, personal care, whatever kind of comes our way. So. And this is still at the core, from that first really good idea I had, it's still what I do, and it's still what we do together. The next slide. So after a while, I'm 46 years old now, I've like not really interested in staying up to 4 a.m. anymore and doing the club stuff and as much of that. It's still very much a part of what we do. But the other thing that she and I spend all our time doing is running away from like the city that we did live in to go play outside, to come out here for a couple weeks and snowboard, to go run out and literally wakeboard in sewage out west of the city of Chicago. So there was a lot of opportunity in the marketplace, and I saw a way to use the skill sets and the things that we had in our toolbox to help a lot of the people that were struggling to like draw people into like, you know, skating and wakeboarding and snowboarding in the Midwest. You gotta be committed to want to do this stuff in the Midwest because it's really hard. You're driving 2 hours to ride on ice. You're driving 2 hours to wakeboard in sewage. You're driving 2 hours to like maybe enjoy 90 acres of off-road environment with a dirt bike or a mountain bike or whatever. So we ramped this up and ended up being able to help a lot of different properties. Built properties, ended up getting like, hey, these guys are really good. So every time Dutour would come to town, we get to consult and kind of market it for them and move it through space. And we went out and consulted for that organization and helped them build a lot of what they had going on when they had all the multi-market events going on. So that kind of brings us to where we are, and we moved here so we could be closer to this stuff. Like I said, I'm 46 going on 14, and I'm still in the touring car checking kids out on my way to get in the jump line and like trying to live this way. So, you know, Gina came to me with her idea about 18 months, 20 months ago, and was based on us really getting here and getting super entrenched, and we'd done no due diligence when we came here. We didn't know what the business environment is. Like, hey, wait a minute, we just planted ourselves in like the action sports mecca, and there's a million brands here and a million organizations, and so much happens and kind of proliferates out from here that the stoke was kind of there. I use that word stoke all the time. But Gina came up with the power of she and sheshreds.co because there was just nothing out there. Again, identifying kind of a market gap and trying to build something that fits into it. And we've been at it for about 18 months, so we've kind of made it kind of past that trough of sorrow where you spend all your money and then it's not working and you have to walk away, and we're kind of seeing this continued momentum. It's like, hey, I think we're onto something. So with that, I'd like to introduce my much better half. I definitely married up both in looks and brains and all of the above, and let her share her collective story and what this brand is and what it does and what we're going to do with it. You'll hear more from me later, though.
Thanks for having me. One thing I just want to mention before I get started, if you want to be an entrepreneur, you better learn how to speak publicly really quick and get comfortable with it really quick. I was not prepared for that at all, and you have to be prepared to sell your ideas to anybody, your friends, potential investors, anybody who walks your way. So that's one thing that I laughed a little bit, and one thing that I'm starting to learn now that is so important, being comfortable, speaking about your ideas and your history and what it's all about. So I'm still on that learning curve a little bit, so I'm going to read from my notes a little bit more than I want to probably, but I hope you all forgive me for that. So I'm just going to talk about really quick, just a little bit about my background and how I got here and stuff like that. So it kind of, when I look back, it kind of started with, buying my first Vogue magazine at age 12. That kind of got me hooked on fashion, and after riding like my first kneeboard that came out in the 90s, it was like the newest thing, like that kind of got me hooked on, action sports at the time. And at around that time, I would steal my brother's skateboard when he wasn't home, his skateboarder magazines, and I was just hooked on that entire culture and the fashion and the music and art and everything that it created. And little did we know way back then, that was like the 80s, that there would be an entire category for these adrenaline-filled off-the-wall sports, and it's become an entire lifestyle now for people, including myself. So fast forward a few decades, and I'm even more in love with action sports than ever, and I just feel like it's such an amazing way to express yourself, your personal style, and just challenge yourself as well. So moving to the mountains of Utah taught me a great deal and helped me find my true passions and my path. So, as Tony mentioned, I come from an advertising and marketing background, and I had been working in an agency in downtown Chicago for a long time and was really burnt out. And I've also obviously worked closely with my husband's company, as he's mentioned. And those were the opportunities that were really fulfilling for me, like, coaching wakeboarding and wake surfing and helping him with his action sports events. Those were really fun for me. And, as Tony mentioned as well, living in Chicago, we were always finding ourselves trying to get out of the city to do the things that we love to do. And, after our last trip here to Utah, 7 weeks later, we up and moved from downtown Chicago. So that was a pretty crazy timeline to make something like that happen. And we did it. And I thought, wow, if we can make that crazy move happen, what else could be possible? It seemed like anything, was possible. Here, now we're living where we worry about anything, and that's when it kind of hit me one day, the idea of Sheshreds, you know, living around these sports every day and getting to participate in them every day. I started seeing, like, you know, there's this big gap out there for females. So, you know, as far as like apparel, gear, inspiration, quality, and I wanted to fill this gap and give females a place they could go that catered only to them, a place they could shop for specific gear for their sports presented to them by another female who is into these sports, and not some, you know, dude in a board shop who is telling them what they should be using or riding or whatever, because, you know, they really don't know, because women do ride differently than men do. So I also wanted it to be an online store. I did not want a brick and mortar store. Online e-commerce is just, there's no limits. You can reach anybody in the world, and that's what I wanted. I also wanted to be able to go and, you know, snowboard on Powder Day. I couldn't do that if I had a brick and mortar store, so I still can. I still don't have time, but I tried. I also didn't just want to be a retail store. I wanted to be a brand as well. So I wanted to represent all the amazing girls that are out there doing these things and pushing their limits, showing them being strong and powerful. You know, we wanted to cater to the serious athletes and the girls who are just seriously stoked to ride. And it was really, really hard to, once I had the idea, to actually tell anybody about it, because I was really excited about it, but I was so worried that, oh my God, people are going to be like, oh, you know, you can't, that's not going to work, or this or that, and, you know, you're living in this little bubble and being excited about it. You're so worried that someone's going to shoot down your little hopes and dreams, but I finally told my husband about it, and he thought it was a great idea, and he said, you know, come on, let's do something with this. So I was like, okay, I'm not crazy, this is a good idea. So you know, there we were. I was really excited, but I was also scared, because, you know, I'm not a professional athlete. No one has ever like paid me to ride or snowboard or wakeboard or whatever, but I'm just as passionate about these sports, you know, as any pro athlete. It's the reason we moved here, you know, to the mountains of Utah, so we could, you know, participate in these sports every single day. And I knew there were a lot of girls like me out there. There's, you know, a lot of girls you see on the hill or wakeboarding or in the skate park or whatever. So I realized that, you know, why not me? No one else was really doing anything. So, you know, that summer we started to work on a business plan. We brought the idea of a surf expo in Orlando, and outdoor retailers in Salt Lake, and brands and athletes all kind of said the same thing. Like, this needs to happen. You know, females are really starting to have a show of force in these sports, and no one's really catering to them. So we were, you know, it was reinforced. We were on the same thing. So we had the idea, we had the plan, but some things, you know, you cannot prepare for. And I recently read in an interesting take on this in MIT Sloan management paper on disciplined entrepreneurship. The key is zeroing in on what you know you don't one visit to Surf Expo, which is the biggest buying expo for water-based sports, and we realized we could not afford to buy any of the gear we wanted to provide our customers. We were bootstrapping the business. We had no investors. This was all out of our own pocket. And then we learned another blow that online retailers have it even harder when you're buying for brands. The minimums are higher many times, and a lot of brands have deals with online stores. So even if you wanted to buy their stuff, they wouldn't sell it to you because they have exclusive deals. So it was kind of looking like doom and gloom a little bit, and kind of feeling like it was over before it started. So we returned from Surf Expo feeling, a little defeated at the buying prospect, but we were still excited about all the great feedback that we had received from the industry when we were there talking to people about it. And obviously we had some connections in the action sports world, through Tony's company, All Action Sports, and we got an introduction to the VP at boardco.com. They're the largest and most established online store for wakeboarding in the U.S., and they're actually based right here in Utah. So we went to Boardco, we met with them, and they loved the idea of being able, to market to females. It was the demographic they were having a really hard time with their online store. And looking around the room, a bunch of dudes, it was pretty obvious that we can help them and they can help us. So what we did with them is we put together editorials on the female boards and gear that we put on our site, and they built back-end pages for us on their site, and we get commissions off of any sales. So it was a win-win. We didn't have to buy any inventory, but we could still present the gear to females the way we wanted to, and still make money that way too. So it ended up working out better than we had anticipated. So now we had the wake gear figured out. Next up was snow, skate, and adventure. And we were familiar with backcountry.com. We have been customers. I'm sure a lot of you people here have been customers of theirs. And they're also based right here in Utah. Amazing. So we did some research, and we found out they had an affiliate program, and we were new to retail at that time. We still we're new to retail, but we're still learning. So they had an affiliate program, which was great, but we didn't even have a website yet. We had nothing, and we sent their affiliate managers, our about us and what we were trying to accomplish and do for females. They called us back right away and wanted to sign us up to their program, without, having any history whatsoever, without having a website. They too, saw the same need, and they didn't, have the staff and the funds to really focus on female marketing. So that was a win-win for us as well. And we were the solution for them.
Oh, is it my turn to talk again? Hey, I'm back up. Who's just here for the food? Raise your hand. Somebody to be honest.
What is the food like?
What is for dinner?
What's for dinner?
There's like some chicken and some pork skewers.
Okay.
We're going with it. So, as Gina was sharing and kind of on the timeline, so we launched the online store and the signature apparel line in fall, which, and Gina will talk more about it and what it means, but the signature apparel that she's created is kind of a badge of honor that these girls and women are sharing, kind of this shared experience all over the country and the world at this point with the reach that we've been able to create. So since inception, we've actually launched several different signature lines of apparel. We've also gone through a number of different exercises with small brands and with some larger ones to actually do co-branded merchandise. So it's allowed us in a very short window of time to actually touch some R&D for women's apparel and gear, because that's the ultimate aspiration as part of the model, is to be able to, like, you know, be in technical outerwear, be in, you know, collaborative relationships where we can touch and, like, kind of vet board design and boot design and apparel design at large for female athletes. So thanks to all these unique affiliate partnerships, we're able to kind of offer the gear that we are now, and we're starting to catch our way into different components of, like, stylized gear and really touching design, both aesthetically from a fashion and visual sense, but also in a functionality sense. And what's kind of cool now is, like, we've got this momentum going where, you know, we have brands reaching out to us and other entities reaching out to us because they want us to take part in being a marketing / retail entity for their goods and services that they already have, and so on. So it's becoming a really neat model, the ability to work and collaborate. What else? See, unfortunately, I need the notes because I forget more than I remember these days, and then I need the glasses to read the notes that are already in, like, a 30-point font. So getting old kind of sucks. But net, where we've kind of netted out is, like, gratefully it's a brand with this great mission and vision behind it, and we've got a story to tell, and we continue to kind of amass this army of young women and girls and older women and moms and grandmas and aunts and uncles across the country and even the world that are kind of, like, rallying to what this brand is about and what we're trying to do. And really, we've, like, had, like, the most amazing. So, anybody who's familiar with retail, I wasn't until, you know, just about a year ago. I'm always just giving away products as, you know, as a marketing guy. January and February are, like, the worst months for retail, online, offline, anywhere. January and February of 2015 are best 2 months to date. And, like, and it's economies of scale, dude. It's not anything, you know, it's barely a mortgage payment or anything like that, but it's, like, really exciting that you kind of elevate to that type of a place. It gives you, it qualifies and gives you hope that what you've done it can actually elevate if you get to the right arc and you get to the right support and the right mechanization to make it move forward. So that's something we're really, really stoked about.
So originally, you know, I kind of thought someone else had to kind of add this idea, and, you know, I did a lot of research on it, and, you know, no one was really catering specifically to this segment of female athletes, and no one had started an online store specifically for females in board sports and action sports, and this seemed a little bizarre to me, and until, you know, I came up with the idea of Sheshred, I was just going along with the status quo and not demanding more from retailers and brands, and that's changing quickly, and more and more females who are finding Sheshred are saying the same thing. You know, wait a minute, we want more. I want a board that's made for me, you know, not the guy's board that they shrank down and put some pink graphics on it. So, you know, females are starting to really, you know, find their voice in these sports.
Yeah, full disclosure, I'm dumb as a brick, man. So I've spent my entire life trying to surround myself with people that are way smarter than me and way more capable. And sometimes you might have this grand idea and you just maybe don't know how to orate it or like model it to even present it to somebody else. Sometimes you have to start right there with that. We have this great idea and you need someone to help you flush it. Gratefully, we have a great team of people around us, and we're just this little brand. But you know Gina and I now. A couple of these peeps, Amy and Sam, they've been with us, we for a decade plus, and just because they're of that mindset, and they're like every time we're like, hey, I have this stupid idea, can you guys help me? That's kind of like the space that they like to occupy. So sometimes you find your way to these people that are like, they'll just be with you forever. And you just kind of know that, and it becomes simple. And we also have some folks that are more recent phenomena. So like Lisa was just this rider girl who came at us and just was like relentless, wanted to work for Gina. I can do graphic design, I'm a photographer, I can ride, I can do this, I can do that. Like, okay, now she lives in our house. She's from the Midwest. She lives in our house on the mountain now, and we kind of get to go through these exercises where, and it's one of the most important things to me personally, and the stuff that I like to do is mentoring and like being able to build right. So this girl came to us, and she came to us working in a very task-oriented fashion where go do this, go do that. Now we're actually crafting together with her, crafting her job description. And we're doing this with a couple of other girls that are in the set now. We're crafting their specific, unique role in our business and where it goes, and they have a voice in it, a stake in it. And hopefully, if we're lucky, she'll be with us for a long time. Seneth, some of you may have heard her speak at some point, but she's like a PR and like just business building powerhouse from the Valley here that we happened upon. I found her, and we continue to use her all the time for PR, and she's sitting president of the National Association of Women Business Owners in Salt Lake, etc. So it kind of takes a village as part of the point in that, and you have to kind of give up some of your control pretty much right out of the gate, right at idea point, or else it's not going to happen. You can't do this stuff alone, is my finding. The other thing I encourage you to do, just like we said yes to being here today, could have said no, could be sitting in my hot tub up on the mountain. I'd rather come here and share and hope that you take something away and that I take something away too. The other thing beyond those like core people that actually kind of get their hands dirty with you, I'm always looking for like mentors, even beyond that. So we've kind of actually around Sheshred have this board of directors, and it'll blow your mind when I tell you about some of these people. So Harley Finkelstein, who is the chief platform officer and one of the founders of Shopify. Is anybody familiar with Shopify as an e-commerce solution? This guy, why is he helping us? Because we asked him. Simple as that. And he's got one of the fastest, they're selling billions. There are like a gajillion vendors, merchants selling billions of dollars, and this guy blocks us off a little bit of time every month to give us tutelage and show us how to do this. Because we've never done retail before, let alone online retail. So we have like this guy who's like probably going to outpace some of the other platform providers, some of the other merchant solutions pretty quickly. And this guy, because he understands, he's like, he started his business selling t-shirts out of the trunk of his car. We've all heard those types of stories. True story. So Harley helps us out because we met him on the mountain skiing one day and we asked him, and that's the role. Another guy who I worked with, Gina and I both worked with at an agency in Chicago, like literally 15 years ago, we touched this guy, and he was like a creative. He came into the agency as a creative, brand creative. Brilliant dude, fun to work with, blah, blah, blah. I had no idea until 6 or 8 months ago, probably 8 to 10 months ago. He pinged me on LinkedIn. He's like, hey, I can probably help you guys. I'm like, okay, Jim, I'll bite. I'll say yes. I didn't know that Jim was the guy who masterminded Bad Boy Club. Anybody remember that brand from the 80s? And Life's a Beach. I'm dating myself again. But two of these huge brands that just went lifestyle berserk, 80s and 90s. And this guy wasn't done though. His latest, conquest was, he was one of the founding members of Prana Yoga Wear. Anybody familiar with Prana? He just sold it, him and his partners just sold it to Columbia for $90 million. So this guy kicks my teeth in, once every couple months when we get him on the phone to explain to us what we're doing. he came to us. He saw an old friend and said, hey, I can probably pay this forward. And that was like just kind of a thing. And I was like, Jim, can you please verbally abuse me about how poorly we're doing this? And because we learn and we act on what we're getting back, you know. So again, there's going to be a whole lot of no and a whole lot of negative that comes at you. It's meant to help you. It's just there to help you. Some of the other folks, another big like kick in the teeth, step on my throat type of guy, Jack Cohen, Cohen Financial, core like VC, real estate, real numbers stuff. He took the time because we had an old relationship with him again, someone we'd met through. He like went and got all of his buddies together even as we sent them through. We went through this process for about 6 weeks and it was brutal and painful, but he pulled together all these other really smart people that have like spent a whole lot of their money to build businesses for other people and do that support. And we got like crunched and got a little, we learned so much. It was like financials and blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, did anybody give us any money? No, but we